Hello and welcome. In here we've got the all-new NORTENT VARDE 2. Now this has just been sent to me. It's a prototype version and there's a lot of tent here in every form. So let's check it out. Now this tent is not mine to keep, and it is a prototype, so there are going to be some tweaks, but this 70D ripstop nylon bag contains the pegs and poles. I make that 45 centimeters by 23. It's a pretty substantial package, and I think a lot of this is 1 kilo of poles. Now NORTENT say this weighs 4.2 kilos, but I'll show you the weights later. The 20 mid-size pegs, 385 grams. The 4 10.52mm poles, according to my scales, 1.1 kilos. And then the tent itself, 3 kilos exactly. So let's put all that together. Pegs, poles and tent all together, according to my scales, is 4.34 kilos, so about 125 grams more than NORTENT said. There's no doubt about it, this is going to be a two-man tent to carry, unless you're strong like me. So in here are 4 10.52mm DAC poles, and the tent itself will squish down, especially once it's in a stuff sack, to a reasonably handleable package. Peg wise, they specify on the website 20 pegs. There's 21 here, and these are the usual NORTENT medium weight Y pegs. I love these things, they're super tough, but they really stick to the dirt, but they absolutely do the job. I don't know about you, what you think, but I've been trying to encourage NORTENT with most of their tents and to make available on their website a mixed package of pegs with some large stakes, medium size like this, and small ones that you would use depending on the loading part of the tent. I think they've agreed in principle, but put in the comments below if you think that's a good idea, and we'll get some kinetic energy going. So these are the poles. It says DAC Featherlight NSL Green. Beefy things. I think there's 2 that are blue coded and 2 that are black coded. There you go, pretty substantial. More like concrete reinforcement rods than poles. Big things, but they're light. I think on the whole this is going to be pretty similar territory to the VARDE 1, but just bigger, more of it. And I suspect there might be more kind of aerodynamic properties to it as well. Now, as I say, this is a prototype and I've got to send this one back, and I know this is going to have further refinements and tweaks. But this is our opportunity to have a little look and see if there's anything that we'd really like to see on the tent that isn't here already. We might not get them, but this is an opportunity to speak out whilst it's pre-production. You have to excuse me if my voice is croaky. I've actually taken a day off sick today. So the boss might see this video and think, what the hell is he doing making a tent video on his day off? But you're looking at the boss, so I can only get in trouble with myself. There you go, 8 pegs and you're ready to start building from the ground up. And that's about 2.5 meters across here. And then long ways, 2.75. So 2.5 meters across by 2.75. So if you're pitching this tent, you can think about taking 3 good paces either side. Being a pitch from the ground up tent, I'm not going to be concerned about pitching this in strong winds, just a case of popping in these sleeves here, and the same all the way around. Right, let's get the colour-coded blue ones in. Now we can start clipping from the ground up. It's very still here, but if it was windy, I would start to get these low guys out. And then when I got up to this point here, I would wrap around here and guide that out, but there's very, very little wind, so I don't think I need to worry. Start to feel the tension building as we get up towards the top. Now, just to give you a sense of scale whilst I'm doing this, I'm 185 centimetres tall, or 6'1", and that's reaching up to kind of pectoral height here, so just inside the tent door there, so I can finish these off. But this has been pretty quick, even though I'm doing it on my own. Some large two-man tents can be a bit of a battle for a solo person, but I think this one would be a breeze. Really, really solid there. I'm putting a lot of weight on that. I can't press down any harder than that. Pretty substantial. So inevitably there's some larger panels than on the Varde one. This panel's quite large. But then on the other parts they're quite small. It'd be interesting deciding which way to pitch this. Okay, so what we've got is 4 doors here, 2 each side. Lots of choices there. Okay, let's have a peek inside. Feels very familiar, this. Of course, being 2 sides and 4 doors, you and your companion. Hello, companion. Hello. Where have you been? Sticking your face in something. Hey? Can you say hello? Hello. Now, what I always like to see on a 4-season tent like this is there space inside to get out the rain and get changed? So without any discussion, definitely yes. That would be easy to do. Kneeling on this bag because the ground's sodden. So the depth across here to the footprint, or the inner tent, is 60 centimetres. I make that to the top 125 centimetres high. Okay, so we've got the DWR coated inner tent. Lots of bungees and toggles, and a double door. There we go, I've opened a door each side, so if the wind and rain was driving from this way, you could have that door open there and that door open there, and you'd be sheltered. And it's close, but the inner tent is sheltered from vertical rain, which would be just there, especially once that was guyed out. So vertical rain would not be hitting the inner tent, but of course you've got a 2-way zip, so you could always just pull that across just a little, and that gives you a little sheltered canopy and a kind of like a rain gutter type thing to keep your inner dry. Man, lots of space in here. Kind of tapered back, not vertical, right? I don't know if you can make that out. Tea break. A quick, a little bit more of the look at the external features. Each of the doors has a central guy out point. It should be over there. And I really like these double elastics because it means you can pitch it close and tight or extend it long. I'm pretty surprised not to see one on the end panels. I think that's definitely something that NORTENT could consider. Would add a fraction of weight, and in my opinion pretty important to keep these kind of pulled out. Reinforced plastic hood over each door. Let's go in. Hello, you. Okay, here we go. Massive. Let's do some internal stats. 115 high. Big This is a 70D TPU coated floor, and that width-wise, in the centre here is 120. In the corners there, 122 I make that. And then the length, so there will be space for 2 full-size pads. Wow, the length is a massive 240. So whilst we've got space for width-wise 2 large pads, we've got mega length to fit equipment and dogs. So here are 2 almost identical 68 by 198 pads, and these will fit in, but with a bit of a squeeze, a little bit of pushing up on the walls. I've forgot my pump, so they're not going up on this occasion, but at the end here we've got a significant amount of space. I'll be taking this on a camp soon, so you can get to see it in action a little bit more. If I slide that up, you can see that space there. But on that camp, I'll just be having the 1 pad in. So what other internal features have we got? So we've got a short hanging line here, the roof pocket, and then 4 pockets around the side. You can tie the door back, or you can choose to shove it in a pocket. There's retention toggles for the door there, another pocket there. And we've got the door shoved in that one. Everybody does that, don't they? I don't know if there's a lot other internal features I'd like to see in here, but there's 1 or 2 external things I'd like to see that I'll talk to you about in a minute. But hey, with the height in here, you've got plenty of space for 2 people, and with having the 2 vestibules, that's a rucksack, a 50 litre lazily chucked in, you've got space either side. Now, the things I would like to see, keep banging on about in NORTENT, is I would like this last top section to be monofill to here with a little bit of flap over that you can close. So in the event of blowing spindrift to encourage ventilation, you could have that little initial flap open and have that monofill section there, so you could be ventilated without fear of snow and fine rain blowing in. And if you wanted to, you could shut that down. So I don't think there's going to be any problems with ventilation in this tent, with having these kind of 4 doors, each with, you know, an option to breeze that through. I would just like that monofill bit there. It adds expense, weight and cost, but I think it's important. But that's just me. A really deep bathtub here. No problem with puddles, rain, etc. What's that? Good 15 centimetres. So the only other external feature I'd like to see, other than the ventilation tweaking here, is an extra guy output here for this large panel. That strikes me as a slightly vulnerable area in what will be a really, really wind-stable tent. So after these first impressions, what's my first impressions? Well, beautiful tent, really, really nicely built, very, very familiar territory to the Varde one that I would absolutely trust in any conditions I find myself in, just that there's more space. Now my concern, of course, is the weight, and that's only because many of us like to carry a 2-man tent for winter camping to give us that extra space. Now, the Varde one is a spacious 1-man tent, so for me, I would continue for winter camping to use the Varde one, and this definitely is in the 2-man tent, 2-man carry stakes, in my opinion, being over 4.2 kilos. That means that you've just got just over 2 kilos per person, which is more than acceptable. But for a solo carry, given the bulk and the structure, it's a little bit too much. But if you want an absolutely dependable winter shelter, I would put my money on this. So there's no financial obligation or gain for me to say anything about this tent. I'm not even getting to keep this one. It's got to go back for some tweaks, some refinements. I don't know what they are, and you're welcome to put your thoughts about anything that you would like to see different, any little kind of like tweaks. But I think, you know, NORTENT are really getting there after a few years of development, and the Varde series is starting to represent a pinnacle of tent design and refinement. Am I going to do the door trick? Yeah, okay. Now I think you know what's coming. Release the connectors at the bottom here. Release that one. Breeze picking up here now. And it's not guyed out. Okay, and then release some of these to let it spring up a little bit more. Interesting, so you've got like a sun canopy on one side, so it's not guyed out at all. This side there's about 10 mile an hour breeze blowing through, and it's just nodding its head a little bit. If you wanted some more shelter, you can partly zip the doors down. If you wanted to stabilise this bit, you can gag that out. Overall, I think we haven't decided yet, have we, in use, because the Vardes have just been used in rough weather so far. So for a winter tent, is this a valid thing? Do you think it would be more of a sunshade? So I don't think it adds much complexity and weight having that. It's nice to have, but I'm not massively sure yet for me how useful a feature it is. But definitely a great option and clever. Interesting design, these door clips, because when they're under tension they're really hard to unclip, so you've got to kind of take the slack out of them a bit, and then they're easy to unclip. So that might be deliberately by design, so when they're under tension they're kind of locked on. Can you see that? Just like a little ring that you put the door toggle through. I'm not a great fan of these. I find them a little bit awkward, but I think that's just my eyesight in a gloomy tent. Right, to take it all down, guy lines aside, just do everything in reverse. What I really like about taking these Vardes down from the reinforced pole sleeve here, you can just pull it out even from the other end and they just slide out. Really nice. Doesn't get caught at the end like some tents do. So let me know in the comments what you think. I think it's a great tent, not one I'm going to be using a lot, partly because I haven't got one. And I generally tend to one-man camp. So really, if there was anything I would change about this tent, it would be to make it lighter. But then again, it wouldn't be the same tent. Wouldn't have those 10.25 millimeter poles. Wouldn't have this super strong 70D floor, wouldn't have the strong 30D outer, all those clip points making it super stable. So there will be people and times for me when this tent works perfectly. So thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. Cheers.